Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Freedom Rebellion, a little podcast within a podcast hosted by myself and J. Nichole Smith. Hey, Nick, what's up?
Hey. Yep.
Oh, so excited.
Yep.
So
Yep.
make sure you guys catch the episode that we previously released because in that we were talking about, oh my goodness, just all the different options that you have as a pet photographer of just different ways that you can structure your business. And really, it applies to all photographers, different ways that you can structure your photography business. And in this one, we want to dive a little bit more into pet photography specifically. But again, there's going to be ties to other photography genres. So if you're a family photographer and you're listening, like keep listening. There's still going to be some ties crossover that you can take from
Massively.
this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, we're looking at how to kind of niche within a niche, or how to make your business, your photography business, stand out in a sea of other photography businesses. Because whether you're a family photographer, pet photographer, like wedding photographer, whatever, there's a lot of competition now. I mean, it used to be back in like 2010, there was maybe one pet photographer in a market. Now there's a whole bunch and more coming up by the day, which a lot of people will jump to that being a problem. I actually like to look at it as it is a great thing, because you have all of these other pet photographers out there, hopefully marketing, letting people in the market know that pet photography is a thing, because most people don't even know pet photography is a thing, and then they'll start searching for it. And if you are really dialed into why you do this and what you offer, and you have beautiful brand and you have beautiful images, well, somebody else might have just done the marketing to let them know there's pet photography is a thing, and then they started to do the research, and then they came across you, and they're going to hire you. Hey, thanks, competition.
It's a win. Yeah. Like back in the day when we first started, we fought so hard for the viability of pet photography as a thing. Like that was most of the educating we had to do. And now it's like, oh, I know it's a thing. It's in magazines. It's all over the place. And I just have to pick one.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, get your SEO and get your branding and all that stuff situated. We can help you with all of that. So anyway,
Yes.
so
So
yeah, so we're diving. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the reason that we're covering this topic and the reason that it came up in the work that I do with helping people build brands, strategically build their messaging, find their why, etc., is that I started to notice a trend with pet photographers about what actually motivates them to be a pet photographer. And the reason I think it's important as a starting point, aside from like business differentiation, brand, getting found, all that stuff, which is super important, the most important, what I found, and I resonated with this with myself, is that there's a lot of pet photographers out there feeling guilty because they're not crazy dog people. And they're like, do I even count as a pet photographer if I'm not that into dogs? Like, if I don't want to go rescue at a shelter every weekend, can I still play in the playground with other pet photographers?
Or I started my pet photography business without a dog. We didn't have a dog. I had 2 young kids, and my role was like, yeah, I know, imposter. My rule was I will not bring anything else into this house that needs assistance for regular bathroom habits until my children are well potty trained.
I love that rule because I got a puppy a year and a half before I had a baby, and she still isn't potty trained. The dog. Yes, I resonate with that. Yeah, so for me personally, I was never that dog crazy. But then I started, when I was doing consulting with pet photographers, I realized that there was some really noticeable trends in what was actually motivating them to do pet photography as a job and as a business. And if you start to understand what you think your motivation might be, it's so clarifying, not only for how you market yourself and what to lean into in your own brand, but also...
All right, everybody. Sorry, we're back. Little interruption because Cammie wanted to be in here with me, and she was in a crate. Anyway, I'll fix now. So anyway, not dog crazy. Keep on going.
Okay.
Yeah, and finding all these different I guess lanes from working with all these other pet photographers.
Yeah. So one of the things that I found is that there was a strong pattern in why pet photographers were pet photographers, and they were doing it for different reasons. And understanding those reasons is really empowering when you're trying to market yourself, but also when you're just trying to navigate your own why, your own intrinsic motivation and purpose, and also what is for and what isn't for you when you're trying to like not be squirrel brain and try to build a business. Like, should I go do that dog training certification, or should I offer physical products, or should I add etchings to my product list? Being able to answer those questions is much easier when you start to really dial in why you do this, because it will start to help predict what is going to happen next once pet photography isn't a thing for you anymore. Because inevitably, a lot of people grow out of pet photography as a business for a variety of reasons. So we're going to dive into those different trends and patterns that we see. It doesn't mean it's encompassing for everyone. They were just the biggest ones that came up as I was doing this work over the last decade.
Yeah, I love that. And being able to look at this too from an alignment situation, we talked about in that first episode that we did about the 3 kind of types of businesses you can have, is if you're trying to kind of go down one of these other lanes because, quote, that's what you're supposed to do, or, oh, I'm supposed to be a crazy dog person because I'm a pet photographer, or I'm supposed to be an artist because I'm a pet photographer, like that's when you're going to feel resentment for your business, or it's going to feel hard, or you're going to be more likely to kind of give it up. Where if you were really trying to get clear on why you're in this and what it is that lights you up, and you go down that path unashamedly with your creative freedom rebellion, you go down there and you're creating a business that lights you up, that is going to then attract others that are drawn to the energy that you're putting into your business, and it just compounds the effort. And yeah, it's 100% why this is important in this conversation.
Yeah, I think it is both personally a relief to sort of listen to and tap into this conversation for yourself and start to ask yourself questions about where your motivation might be. And also, as you said, a really valuable tool when it comes to actually marketing and attracting the right clients and making key decisions about what you should and shouldn't do and how you might want to grow your business in the future. Because for me, when I help people build brands, I talk about it being like your dream house. And it's like, you're not building it for your life now. You're building it for your life for many, 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 many years to come, with space to expand into, no matter what that life looks like or becomes. And I think if you invest in building a brand, if you are investing in building your business, then it's important to understand the next 3 to 5 steps and not just the first 2, in order to make sure that that investment is worthwhile in terms of where you might want to go next. And this becomes more and more true after you've been doing it for a couple of years and you have some tougher, more strategic decisions to make about what's next.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So what are those 3 different
Okay.
paths?
So the first one I want to dive into is the artist. You are a
Aren't
pet
we all artists because we're photographers?
Of course we are. However, the artist is drawn to pet photography because of the art. Dogs are just the model right now. So if you are more of an artist, then you are probably doing other types of photography. Maybe you do weddings, maybe you do food, maybe you do families, maybe you do personal branding, but you love the art of photography. You get high on the art of it. You are deeply into craft. That's really important to you. And pets are right now your subject of choice. They might not be forever. And photography might not be the only creative outlet that becomes important to you. So you might dive into etching or painting or, digital creation of some kind, because it is that art that really fuels you, and it becomes less about the dog and more about the craft.
I love that. Yeah, so we have a couple examples of, oh my gosh, you guys prepare to get your minds blown at some of this beautiful artwork. One of my favorite, when you mention artwork, and I'm like, oh, Danica Burrell, we have Puka Art, Fine Art. So it's Puka, POUKA.com. She is a photographer, but also a master digital painter. Unbelievable, the digital art that this woman creates. Oh, look at you sharing screen and pulling this up. absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I mean, she is 100% an artist.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Super, super beautiful. And this is someone who has clearly developed a signature style and put the effort into creating an art product where she could
Mhm.
call herself a fine artist, and creating a differentiation in the market. Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's probably 90%. I'm making up numbers for her, but it's a lot of dogs. So it's mainly dogs, but she does do some other subjects as well, but really it truly is dogs because she loves dogs and art. One of the others is Mandy Pratt from Gray Boy Prince, which she started as what came first for her? Do you know? Did she start as photographer and then
She was
started
a
doing
pet
the etching?
photographer. Yeah, I was working with her during this transition and she decided to do etching and then she decided to switch her business into primarily etching. And she does have some great relationships where she white labels etchings for other pet photographers as well. But she's
Mhm.
developed some beautiful products where she can put ashes into the ink to do a beautiful memorial. Like this is an example with a little bit of dog hair and a paw print, and ash into the ink. She's got some beautiful things where you can watch her work, just really, really cool. But yeah, she started as a pet photographer and then kind of came back to this was her grandmother's craft,
Mhm,
that her
mhm.
grandmother taught her. And then she developed it into a full on art business. Uh, Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely awesome. And I've interviewed Mandy on this podcast, so if you just search Mandy Pratt, you will find that as well. If you want to hear her conversation about her business. So we also have Josie, one of my favorite people, Josie Bond.
Mhm.
Is that how you pronounce her last name, Josie? I'm sorry if I just butchered it.
Artisan hound.
Yes. Yeah, she used to be I mean, the Artisan Hound was after working with you because she used to be Jelly Bean Photography,
Mhm.
which her work was always when she was a photographer, was always you could see a little bit of it there, but was always just so just beautiful and artistic and gorgeous, and the jelly bean piece just did not fit
No.
the emotion that was connected with her art. So then you helped her rebrand to Artisan Hound. Is that because you found out while you were working with her that it was like, "Oh, she has all this art that she wants to kind of create?"
Yeah, so it was really interesting with Josie. I developed this whole recognition of these patterns when I was working with Josie as she was going through her why finding. And because I realized this is something I had been saying to pet photographers, but it really hit home with Josie, where I think it was real permission for her to step out of what she was supposed to do as a pet photographer and really claim that artistic side of herself. And so she stepped into the Artisan Hound as a rebrand for her pet photography. And then later she stepped fully more into creating, I think these are etchings, and this beautiful, handmade fine art work, which is not photography based at all. And it was so clear when we were chatting that she was an artist at heart. And that was what really fueled her in the pet photography world. And everything she touches is immaculate. She is a real perfectionist when it comes to aesthetic. And that comes through in everything that she does. But she's the person that stands out in my mind when I talk about like the artist pet photographer, that she
Mhm.
was so drawn to the, statuesque nature of dogs as a subject,
Mhm.
but was in it for the art. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not to
excellent.
say she doesn't love dogs, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
all of these people that we're mentioning are choosing to utilize this art still on dogs. And I know for me personally, I always, yeah, like you mentioned in the beginning, like kind of felt like an outsider, like, well, I like dogs, but like my why is really just animals in general and that relationship. And I have a bit of that art piece in me because like my whole the photography part of my business is still very focused on artwork. Like I have no interest of just taking photos to give people digital files. That actually like hurts my soul.
Mhm.
I want to create something beautiful for their home. And so my medium is just like, photographic art. But yeah, excellent. We have one more shout out that we want to do, and that is Laura Wimwell, who is in I think outside Toronto, but definitely in Canada. And oh my gosh, I love her portraits so much. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, so Laura sort of transitioned and did a rebrand when she was in my world and discovered her starshine personality type, which you see coming through in the black and white and magenta here. And this language around specializing in innovative pet photography and animal-based digital art for trend-setting pet parents and brands. She is a beautiful example, picking a lane and claiming it. I love this one here. Um, she is brilliant, and she has really gone all in on this sort of cinematic quality of these sort of beautiful composites, and that is what she's really pushed forward with, because that is her version of the artist.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So fun. All right. So, how does one, if people are out there listening, what are some things that they should look for to be like, oh, maybe I'm an artist? Do you have any advice for them?
Sure. So one would be that you've maybe been drawn to photography your whole life, or you've dabbled in all different kinds of art. You did a little painting, a little drawing, you love to do design or make things, and you found a really nice crossover with that skill set and dogs. But if
Hmm.
you really, really think about it, if you had to pick one, right? Like, would you want to continue to make art and create and create and create? It's sort of like the creator archetype, control the aesthetic, design your home, make pretty things. Is that more important to you deeply inside as a need for you? Or is it rescuing dogs, being interested in dog behavior, geeking out about dog breeds? So it's not just, I love my own dog. It's
Hmm.
like, I am a dog geek overall. I'm a crazy, crazy dog person. And you'll have you'll know when I say these two
Hmm.
things, like which one is more you. There are other options, but if you're the artist, you'll feel this sort of creator archetype in yourself, that you just are someone who makes beautiful things. And that's really, really important to you.
Okay, excellent. And so the next one we want to talk about is the lifestyle
Mm,
photographer. So, what is
yes.
the lifestyle?
So lifestyle is a bit sort of hard to wrap your arms around. In one way, it might show up as someone who like wants to be an influencer online and share their entire
Hmm.
lifestyle with the world in terms of the curated way that they show up. And dogs and photography are currently part of that. But maybe when they have kids, it might be about that. Or if they, start traveling the world, it's about that, where it's like this sort of content creator basis, or um, this brand that's built in your town or your very specific aesthetic, or something that is much more about the sort of content you create and the multiple aspects of that content, which includes dogs. So maybe you're also passionate about cooking, or about your kids, or about your town, gardening. There might be multiple things that play out here, and all of that makes its way into your brand aesthetically or thematically, in terms of the things you like to shoot and the things that you talk about. And the way to kind of look at this is, will I be doing photography or pets in 5 years' time? Who knows, right? I might just ditch it all and have some kids. I might ditch it all and go back to school for something else, like, where it's like, this is part of your lifestyle and the life that you lead right now, but you don't have a strong tie to the hardcore fine art of it,
Mm-hmm.
or the dog side of it. So it's a little more about storytelling, and it's a little bit more about having a strong sort of aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
that you want to share visually through words and other ways. And currently, photography and dogs are the way that you do it. It's a little bit hard to define, but you kind of know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's do a couple examples of that so that we can see them.
Sure.
The one that we both were like, oh my goodness, we love her. She's one of our alumni from Commercial Pet Photography Academy and is killing it in the commercial space. Is Caitlin Wallace from, it's now the Salty Studio in Southern California, and my God, so delicious. Look at that website.
Okay, so this is her commercial page, and I started here because this gives you such a strong feeling of what
Mhm.
a lifestyle pet photographer looks and feels like. First of all, she shoots for brands, she shoots pets, and she does families, right? So that's kind of an indication. Her brand is called The Salty Studio, and she puts right up there that she's in Costa Mesa, California. So there's a strong California
Mhm.
coast element at play here. And if you just scroll through, you can see exactly what I mean. She has a really strong aesthetic. She's shifted into a really clear brand personality type that comes through in the way that she shoots, in the way that she's curated her portfolio, the brands that she works with, the types of images she creates. And although these are different shoots in different companies in different places, look at how well they all fit together because it's such a consistent vibe.
Oh my gosh, so gorgeous. So for you guys listening on the podcast and you're like, "Man, I really want to see these examples." We'll be posting this on YouTube too, and we'll have a link in the show notes that you can jump over and see these examples. Um, just absolutely beautiful work.
And this
Okay.
is her
Yeah.
homepage. Right at the top, it says Southern California Photography Studio, capturing incredible content starring
Mm,
people, pets, and products.
mm-hmm.
So she's really put her flag in the ground for the lifestyle, Southern California, the location, the vibe, right? It looks and feels like Southern California, doesn't it?
It
Like it
sure
just
does. Yeah.
has that aesthetic. And she's carried that all the way through really, really beautifully. So she is a really, really good example of what this can look like.
I love it. We have a couple other examples too. So, like Holly Montgomery from Brindleberry Acres, who was, oh my gosh, a pet photographer back in our day of pet photography. She was just killing the pet photography space, and she has kind of shifted her business to be a little bit more about some lifestyle. She had owned some like holistic pet food stores. So, she has a blog, Brindleberry Acres, that was all about, enrichment for your dog and cooking for your dog and all sorts of things. Okay. Okay, here is Holly's website. You can see Brindleberry Acres because your pet is everything in photography, nutrition, enrichment. She has a podcast where it's the Everything Pup podcast. So you can see there's certainly a dog theme here, but her business is not just about pet photography. And I think Holly, she went through some where she was all pet photographer and then she started to do this because she had the pet food things on the side, and she's obviously has a strong interest in holistic nutrition and enrichment for her animals based on her dog food store ownership. And then she gave up photography for a bit, but then recently was called back to, oh man, I do miss it. I want to come back to some photography. So, no matter kind of what path you're on, your journey can ebb and flow, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want any of you out there just to be like, oh, well, I gave it up. Now I'm back. And then having like any sort of shame around your journey. It's just your journey and you're following what feels right for you at the time. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Totally agree. Yeah. And Holly's another one of those people that always comes to mind when I think about this lifestyle thing because she actually did have these pet food stores and she was really, really passionate about nutrition and about several aspects. So she is right on the line between this one and the one we'll talk about next. But she always was able to pull a really strong lifestyle aesthetic into everything that she did. And she was really always photographed people. She was really good at styling, scenes within the home and that kind of thing, because she really understood how to sell that emotion through those scenes that were not just pets and not just people.
Mm-hmm.
I think photographing people is another really sort of key indicator of people who are more in the lifestyle, is really understanding the relationship, a natural scene where dogs and humans are interacting and how to create emotion through that lens. I
Mm-hmm.
think is much more that lifestyle vibe, as we saw with Caitlin's portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. We have one more, and that is Carrie. Okay, let me not Nakahashi. I think I got that right, Carrie. And she is in, as her name might imply, in Hawaii, and her brand is all Hawaii goodness. Oh
Mhm.
my lord.
So Carrie ended up winning a scholarship to the Commercial Photography Academy because her work was so pristine. And when we did the competition, she was such a clear winner. But if you look, here at her Instagram, you can see that it's just Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii all the way through, right? Like it's all there. It is so much about where she lives, the beach, the big blue sky, even, sort of the aesthetic that goes that makes that the star, that kind of beachy vibes. And she's been so consistent with that for such a long time. And that's what you're going to get when you go to her, right? If you're hiring her as a commercial photographer, you're doing it because you want your products or you want that Hawaii beach lifestyle to come through. And again, we see a lot of people, we see activities like paddleboarding, and we start to see some jumping in the water to be able to tell that story. So yeah, she has a beautiful take on what it means to be a lifestyle pet photographer.
Yes, and just a little side note about style. So Carrie came to one of our Hound Vision retreats, the one in Tahoe, where she saw snow for the first time in her life. And there's something just so magical when you can see someone's style come through when they're outside of their element. So it was snow on the ground a little bit. It was March in Tahoe. There were some flurries. There were sometimes sunny, sometimes cloudy, but like evergreens and lake and rock and like nothing. Not the lighting was different. The scenery was different. Like everything was different than Hawaii. But when she was sharing her images, we're like, boom, Carrie, like they were just so beautiful and still had her touch of magic, which just goes to show how important it is to continue to refine your style, your craft. And the goal that all of us should have should be like wherever you go and point your camera, that people see your images and like, oh, that's yours, which she has done tremendously well.
Yeah, such a good point.
Can we stop for a second? And I would love to add in this little piece too of, actually, we'll hit it at the end, of just some different marketing strategies for each of these three, of like what could be a good fit for each of these three lanes. But we'll do that towards the end. So next up, after lifestyle, we have the one that we all thought was the only reason that you would be a pet photographer, and that is the animal lane. Dogs, more dogs. I love dogs.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with loving dogs, obviously, but if you're not one of those people, don't worry. That's why there's these other lanes.
Yeah, I think when we all jumped in, certainly this was true for me in the early years, you're like, oh, there is a path to success. I have to jump in, find the dog people, do the crazy dog things, go to the dog magazines and the Humane Society and like dog. And if that doesn't stir your soul, if that's not why you're in it, you will find that very arduous and difficult. If people are telling you need to photograph adoptable dogs for free in order to blah, 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 like, no. You do not have to be a crazy dog person to be a pet photographer. However, some pet photographers are crazy dog people. They're in it for the dogs. They might also be really interested in canine behavior and become dog trainers as well. They might, whatever they do for the rest of their life, it's going to involve dogs. Whether it's pet photography or something else, dogs will always be included.
Yes, 100%.
Or cats.
When you mentioned this particular archetype, one of my students came to mind, Nicole Rustic. She is Portraits by Nicole. She's based in Vegas. She's been to some workshops. She's been through a lot of things. She's amazing, wonderful human, amazing portrait photographer, absolutely gorgeous work. And she's really involved in the dog sports aspect of it. I mean, she always has not just one, not just two, but usually a handful of dogs that she's using in the dog sports. And yeah, absolutely beautiful work. Let me go ahead. I have it right here. Boop, boop. You have to make the boop noises. But, her work is just so dreamy and beautiful. And yeah, she is all about dogs. And I believe, oh, Nicole, don't correct me if I'm wrong, or I'm sorry if I'm not, but I believe she had another job too, as like she works either as pet sitter or pet trainer, something else along those dog lines. And I know she's also heavily involved in dog sports with her pack.
Lovely.
But her work is beautiful.
Yeah, it's so dreamy. And you can see, I think if you scroll down, there's like you could see some from her blog somewhere in there, and you can just see like she's talking about different dog things. It's not just like pet photography, like she's talking about different animal aspects. And it's so clear, as you said, that she's immersed in dog lifestyle. And I think this is one of the big mistakes that that pet photographers make, and this is why we're covering these, tiny little marketing tips for each of these categories along the way, is that there isn't just one way to market pet photography either. So as we relate these lanes, we relate to how we market. So, that artist who's marketing as fine art,
Mhm.
and talking about art and being an artist and understanding what it means to sell art like an
Mhm.
artist. And then we're looking at this lifestyle where we're building a lifestyle and we're on Instagram having a lifestyle, and understanding that we are then going to reach people based on lifestyle, and we're in lifestyle magazines and we're, immersing ourselves in the lifestyle. And then pets, where we're finding dog people. We want fellow dog people who are crazy dog people. We niche down around our type of dog people. And we are geeking out at dog conferences, in dog magazines, et cetera, where our people are, because we understand each other. So I think people make the mistake that people who want to buy pet photography are dog people, but often dog people are sometimes very cheap and might be more that like low cost, high volume than lifestyle, which might be the more boutique model,
Mhm.
and art, which might be super premium, like some of the examples we gave in our last podcast, about that, tier 4 $10,000 average sale.
Mhm.
That's usually going to be in the fine art category. So I think it's important, as we sort of discuss this, to understand the implications for marketing. And this pet, dog one is the only one where I'd say you're going all in on those like really dog
Mhm.
oriented activities, like collaborating with
Mhm.
shelters and rescues.
Yeah, what I think this marketing tends to be what we think of as the general pet photography marketing. And where I look at, like, if you're an artist, maybe you're looking at partnering with interior designers or a home decor store, or,
Galleries.
things like that that are outside of the scope of what you would think of for a
Yeah.
pet photographer,
Mhm.
realtors, hairdressers, things like that. Lifestyle could be, all right, I'm going to create, bringing together a community around, maybe you're someone that, like Krista Murray, we mentioned in the last one, that does hunting dogs. Like maybe you're creating a community for, you know, owners and their hunting dogs, that you're speaking directly to those people about this lifestyle, or like Holly has with Brindleberry Acres, where it's a whole entire blog dedicated to these types of things. So
It's holistic lifestyle.
yeah,
Yeah.
like as you're looking at how do I want to market my business, knowing kind of which of these three lanes you are most aligned with. And I say most aligned with because you can have a foot a little bit in each one.
Oh
Like
yeah. There will be crossover
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, because you're going over each, you're like, well, a little bit here, a little bit there. But if I had to choose one of those three, I think for me is the artwork, is for my pet photography business, is creating beautiful things for the home. Like I watch HGTV for fun. Like I love interior design. I love looking at like the colors and creating a piece of art that's going to go there, and choosing the frames, and like the final piece is why I do this. So I feel like that firmly plants me in the artist.
Yeah, but you'd be probably a crossover between artist and lifestyle,
Yeah.
because that HGTV, what come along while I reno my new rental property,
Yeah.
that's lifestyle bridge, right?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
is it the art for art's sake? I'm not sure it is. It is the physical product, but I think it's the way that
Mm,
physical product fits into this environment, which I think is a
true.
little bit more lifestyle. So the key there is like, do I want to act and brand and sell myself like a fine artist, which
Mhm.
means signing my pieces? It means certificates of
Mhm.
authenticity. It means gallery shows. It means being a little bit weird sometimes in our abstract thinking and our poetic nature, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a vibe that when people want to buy from artists, there's things they want and don't want
Mhm.
for art, even if that art is commissioned, right? Versus if I'm fitting into a lifestyle, again, there's crossover here, right? Because
Mhm.
it's the fine art you care about, but actually, is it like more the home decor? How's it going to fit
Mhm.
in? Are we going with rustic frames because they're a little bit more on vibe with, so there is,
Yeah.
it's a little bit muddled in terms of like how to pick one of these lanes, but it's again thinking about how you want to market yourself
Mhm.
and how you want people to think of you and what sort of content you're going to be sharing in your social channels as well. and
Yeah.
how you price yourself and what that experience looks like for your customer. Because obviously, marketing goes all the way through the entire customer journey. It's not just when you attract people into your world.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
there's, of course, there's conversations about price in there as well, which we've sort of touched on.
Yeah, in the last episode, absolutely. Um, there's two more people in the animal one that we wanted to touch base on. Sorry, guys, we're like all over because we have so many great ideas. We just have to get it out now. So hang with us. We're going back to these animal ones, and these are two of my dear friends, and their why is 100% dogs, and that is Craig Turner Bullock of photography in New Zealand, and also Kaylee Greer from Dog Breath Photography in Boston.
So this is Craig.
Oh my gosh. I
He
love
has
Craig's
this
work.
incredible cinematic style. So he definitely crosses into the artist as well.
Mhm.
But as you say, it is like has always been and will always be dog, 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 dog,
Yeah,
dog.
there's a reason that Craig isn't showing like horses or like
People.
families. Like it is about the dog. And he does shoot people and their dogs, but like you'll see all of his hero images are mainly like the dogs in the environment and just absolutely stunning. So you can see from Craig's work here that it is all about the dog and the environment. Like there's no people in these images. These are just amazing images of dog. And we're going to talk a little bit about attention to those details in craft. But first, Nick, can you give us a quick overview of Kaylee and Dog Breath? If you guys don't know, Kaylee and Dog Breath, she is known for, oh my gosh, like larger than life, HDR type looking, but it's all done in camera with strobe and just beautiful. And I've done a couple podcast episodes with her as well. And this is her why. This is like she wants to create images of dogs of how she sees them in her life. And she is obsessed with dogs. And so that is why she does what she does. And, there's a lesson here. I think two things. Number one, when you are 100% absolutely committed to why you do something, you're going to find success because it is ingrained into your soul of why you need to have this artistic expression about it. And I
And
think,
I just want to add to that, your
yeah.
vision gets so clear.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's able to vision and execute these images driven by that passion you mentioned, but it helps clarify the vision because she knows exactly what she's trying to convey.
Yeah. And that style and vision doesn't happen overnight. If you guys come to Hound Vision or on one of our barcas, like we go over the style, you get to see Kaylee's early work, all of our early work. And, like everybody's early work, it's like, oh.
Okay. Oh,
So, like,
oh.
you don't just pick up a camera and start creating this, but both Kaylee and Craig have an unwavering commitment to their craft because of that passion that they have for dog and for creating this artwork or these images. And that's such an important piece. And, if you have this desire to create this business, whether it's going down the art path or lifestyle or animal, if you have that desire, you have the ability to be successful in it. You wouldn't have the desire if you didn't have the ability. Yes, it's going to take work. Yes, it's going to take some, like, I don't want anybody looking at these to be like, oh, I suck, forget it. Which is really
obviously
easy
these
for
are
our brains to
examples
do to ourselves.
of people at the pinnacle of their career. Like we're not showing the newbies, we're not showing their early, misses. This is like people who are shining examples of what we're talking about. So it's a really good point, Nicole, that don't compare your chapter 1 to their chapter 12.
Yeah. All right. So we have these three. We have the artist, lifestyle, animals. And I asked before when we were prepping for this, I'm like, well, I kind of feel like there might be a fourth. Because if you made me fit, as we already said, I'm like artist. You're like, oh, maybe lifestyle. I'm like, oh, maybe. But I feel like there's a fourth, at least for me, and it's like business. I love business. And it just so happens my business of choice is photography and dogs because that's way more fun than taxes.
Yep.
So could that be a lane too? Or is it really that is a lane that what's the word I'm looking for? It collaborates, it helps.
There's like synergy.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, if your jam is business, then it really doesn't matter what you do because you'll probably be successful at it, right? You'll find a gap in the market, you'll find customer fit, you'll test and then grow a business. And, I've watched you do that with multiple things. Like you have multiple businesses and, you invest in properties and you run a conservation, which is kind of, so that is definitely going to be a skill set for you. And you have obviously found fit in this particular business and stuck with it for quite a while for a reason. So I would say explore the reasons why this business for so long. I think the idea with business is that we want to build enough cash to buy our freedom, right? Creative freedom, rebellion. So we want to use our creative skills to buy our freedom so that we can do whatever the hell we want, which may or may not include any of these things we've talked about today, right? Maybe we want to go paint, maybe we want to just have a farm full of dogs, or maybe we want to just have a lifestyle of drinking wine and cooking, right? So one of the sort of indicators could be like, when you're passionate about business, is it the creative side of it? Is it that you just want to buy your freedom? And if you do, what is it that you want to do when you have that freedom? Is it going to be about travel and lifestyle? Is it going to be about spending all your time creating art? Like that can give you some indication as to which one of these lanes you could put yourself in. A, you don't have to. And B, the most important part, well, there's two sides to this coin. One side is finding your own intrinsic motivation to do the hard shit in business, right? Like when it gets hard, what is motivating you? When it gets hard to differentiate, as you mentioned, which lane are you picking in terms of not only how you talk about what you do, but the customer experience that you create and deliver? Is it that of an artist? Is it that of a more lifestyle? Are you giving your clients wine? Are they coming in for a coffee? Like, what is the vibe there? Or is it dogs, 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 like, is it about rescue? Is it about giving back to dogs overall? Are you donating a portion of everything to charity? And that's a big part of why people choose you, because you are appealing to people who really care about that in particular. I think the business thing is when we're talking about these lanes, we're talking so much more about your own intrinsic motivation and how you're going to market your business to do one really important thing, which is to tap into more emotion. So business, and I get this conversation all the time when I'm talking about purpose, when I'm talking about impact, when I'm talking about why. I'll go do these in like high level masterminds. And I'll have this conversation in particular about like your impact statement and how you're making the world better. And people are always like, excuse me, what if I just want to make shitloads of money? And it's like, cool. Okay, sit with me. You've done it. You've got your millions. You've got your billions. You're sitting on a big fat pile of money. Now what? Now what? What do you want now? Do you want to have relationships? Do you want to see the world? Do you want to fix the climate crisis? Like, what are you passionate about when you've ticked that box? Because we all spend so much time in this space of proving something to someone or getting these things or freedoms that we never had. But once you get those things, you sit there going, now what? And most of my clients on the high level are in that now what moment. And they pay me to help them answer that question so they can move forward from a place of deep purpose. And maybe your purpose isn't lifestyle, art, or dogs, but eventually you're going to ask yourself that question. And I know you had your light bulb moment with the conservation, which you can tell us about in a second. But the idea here is that what we're looking for on one hand is our own personal fulfillment and meaning, and how we can find that through our business as quickly as possible. And then the other side is conveying that emotion to our clients so they can buy in to our why, to why we do this, and to the way we craft that experience for them that creates an emotional experience for them as customers.
Yeah, I think a lot of pet photographers and photographers in general fall into the trap of, if I just show beautiful images, I will have clients lining up around the block. And that's just not accurate. Yes, beautiful images is a piece of it, but it's the emotion that is created from those beautiful images, which often needs to be not just the images, it needs to be supported by story and your branding and your messaging and all of those pieces, so that it brings that emotion to life and moves that emotion into action. Because otherwise it's just, oh, that's a beautiful image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the other, back to your, if you had millions, now what? I think a lot of people also, I mean, all of us, all business owners, probably actually all humans, because even if you're working a day job and do nothing creative or photography, which probably is not the case because you want to be listening to this podcast. But but I think a lot of us get into the false belief that as soon as I reach this goal, then I'll know my purpose. Then I'll know what makes me happy. Then I'll know more. And it's like they're almost on hold, that nothing can happen in their life until they check this box. Like they can't
Mm-hmm.
possibly start a new hobby, find a new passion, figure out what lights them up, because it's like, well, first I have to get here. And then when I get here, then I can think about that. But that's
Oh, I'm
backwards.
so glad you mentioned this. Like, this is why, so my personal mission is to help create a joy first world. And it's for exactly the reason that you just mentioned, is that we see joy and fulfillment as a destination that we have to earn, that we have to achieve by deserving. And we've been programmed our whole life in the Western world. In particular, that's where my experience is, that so many of us have this perfectionism, this A-type, performance. We can do acts to earn our rest, our pleasure, our freedom, and our joy. And that is so wrong for two really important reasons. One is you may never get there and you're going to live a miserable life. Well done. The other is that what I have found, not only through my own personal experience, the experience of the clients that I've supported for almost 2 decades, and the research, is that if we can tap into that joy, if we can give ourselves permission to have that hobby, have that pleasure, have that coffee, take that walk, do the little things. We're not talking like going on around the world for 2 years kind of thing. It doesn't have to be that big. It will fuel faster results of every kind: faster weight loss, faster financial success, faster healing in our relationships, faster everything, because it is the core to our health and well-being. It is the core to our relationships. It is the core to how people react to us in the world. And this is especially true in marketing, where everything gets magnified. So joy first as a model is both good for your health and well-being and really good for your business and brand if you are able to step back and say, I deserve joy. Now I'm going to craft a life and business around creating more of it. I do not have to earn it. It is an intrinsic thing I deserve because I'm a human being living and breathing. And what does that look like? Because if you can start asking those questions and answering them now, your whole journey is going to be way more fun. But also, you're not going to find yourself sitting on that pile of money wondering what next. You're going to have this beautiful ride where you get to experience joy the whole time, and it just keeps getting better, and it keeps getting better in the ways that are a perfect fit for you and your joy, not someone else's, right? This is back to our creative freedom rebellion. It's your way, it's your version, and nobody else can answer for that for you. And do not wait until you've arrived at some magnified theoretical point where you deserve it or have earned it. Because I can tell you, I work with so many millionaires who are bored, miserable, depressed, have broken relationships because they have all those things now, and they are asking this now what question. So many of them are just giving away, throwing away businesses, making them millions because they're like, it doesn't fulfill me. And all I care about now is fulfillment now that I've ticked that box. Don't be them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think it's not even about like, for me, it's not necessarily about a not deserving joy. For me, it had been more of a, well, this will bring me joy, not realizing that the joy is actually brought internally, which will then help you get to that goal faster. But it's when you are pushing your happiness, your fulfillment onto some external thing, that is just backwards. Like,
I think there's two pieces there that you mentioned are really important. One is the external, which is so important. And the other one is the delay. I'm going to delay gratification. I'm going to delay joy. I'm going to delay time spent with my family, my hobbies, my horse, whatever, because I need to put in all the time to this thing because this thing is going to unlock X, Y, Z. And I think the really important point here is that joy is not about hedonism. It's not about doing whatever you want, whenever you want, just because it feels good. That's hedonism. Joy is a combination of happiness, but also meaning. And meaning comes with it intrinsically pain and struggle. Like if something is meaningful to us, it usually means it's not just handed to us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I found in my research is that one of the biggest sources of joy for us is stuff that we've achieved that felt impossible. That euphoria of getting to the top of that mountain, literal or symbolic, is one of our greatest sources of joy as human beings. So it's not about not working hard, but it is about giving ourselves not only permission, but actively prioritizing joy every day along the way.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I
Well,
went
I
on a
think that's a
tangent
pretty
there.
good wrap up to this episode. I think we're done here. Again, us going off on tangents, which one could be a whole nother full episode, but it had to be said, and yeah, truly, that it is the secret to everything. It's the secret
It
to
is.
unlocking everything that you want
Yeah.
is by living a life with passion and purpose, and putting your joy as an important piece of that. Because here's the other thing: if you don't allow yourself to experience joy, who are you helping? You're helping no one. You're helping no one that is in a relationship with you or lives with you or knows you. But if you're able to put joy first for you, again, you're still working. You're not just like, oh, screw it. I want to have a martini on the beach today. Forget all my commitments. Sorry, guys. Joy first. Peace out. But when you're able to actually embody that in your life, you're actually inspiring others to do that too. And it becomes a ripple effect of goodness that just also comes back to you in spades in your business and all the things.
And this is why I'm so passionate about spreading the word on this, because it is so exponential.
Mm-hmm.
If someone listening to this podcast can make a few decisions differently because of hearing it, and then their family and their clients and their dogs and their whatever
Mm-hmm.
have these different experiences because of that, like all of these touch points are exponential. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. But coming back to our topic today, the reason to pick a lane here is to find more joy in the thing and to communicate and design more joy for your clients in the thing, and doing that from a place that is, like we keep talking about, this creative freedom rebellion, this your way, your design, your thing that is different and special because it comes from a place of your own joy and inspiration. People will be drawn to that. It's better for money. It's better for clients. It's better for your creative development. And it can be in whatever lane you want. It does not have to be one of the three that we've talked about today. Those are good starting points for the patterns I've seen with loads of pet photographers over a decade. It might be your own thing. And I've seen different versions of this, which are amazing. I love it. So I think the moment, the sort of flag in the ground here is really about, like, who are you really? Why are you in this really? What kind of business do you want to have? What do you want it to say about you? How do you want to show up? And what is the experience you want to create for your customers? And as a starting point, could that be a fine artist experience or a lifestyle experience or a dogs experience? Those are great places to start.
I love it. Oh my gosh. You guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please feel free to reach out to us. Nick, what's your Instagram? J. Nichole Smith?
At J. Nichole Smith. Yep.
Okay, perfect. And I'm a Nicole Begley official. So reach out, let us know. If
And remember, my Nicole has an H in it.
Oh yeah, no H for me, H for Nick. Anyway, we would love the links will be in the show notes, but we would love to hear how this landed for you and what insights you have had from this episode. And we will be back next month for another episode of Creative Freedom Rebellion. Oh my goodness. Oh man. And then in the meantime, if you are a pet photographer that wants to learn more about working in the commercial world, just jump over to www.hairofthedogacademy.com/commercial for more details on that. All right, guys, have a good week and we will talk to you soon.